With Seahawks Training Camp 2 weeks in and Noah Fant released, we have a brand new 53-man roster projection to get to for your Seattle Seahawks. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, here with you. Thanks for joining us. Let's set the parameters of how we're doing this here, folks. You may look around on the internet and see some 53-man roster projections that the experts are doing, and several of them out there might have a player on their roster projection that doesn't even play for the Seahawks right now. We're not going to do that today, folks. What we're going to do is we're going to solely focus in on players that are currently on the roster. We're not trading for anybody or doing any free agent signings or anything like that. I saw a roster projection on ESPN the other day for the outside linebacker spot. One of the spots said, somebody who is not on the roster. And that was just it. No. We're going to give you actual names, put our best effort forward that we can on projecting this roster for the Seahawks. So without further ado, let's begin with the quarterback position. And we start with Sam Darnold making the 53-man roster. He'll be your QB1 when the season begins. And how about this? Drew Lock makes the 53-man roster. What that means is that with Drew Lock and with Jalen Milroe on the 53-man roster, I believe that even though history tells us Seattle traditionally only goes with two quarterbacks, I think right now they're going to go with three. And here's how I would expect this to play out. With the emergency quarterback rule that the NFL has that was put in place after the Niners lost Brock Purdy a couple years ago in the NFC Championship game, I would think that it's probably a scenario when the season begins where Darnold is your QB1, Milroe is your QB2 on the game day roster. That way he can be used in the specialty packages that Seattle has talked about. And then Drew Lock is probably your emergency quarterback, and he would play if Darnold or Milroe went down. Based on the NFL rules, you couldn't use Milroe in those specialty packages if he's your number 3 emergency quarterback. So that's how I envision this going at this point in time. We'll see how things play out from there. The backfield, I know there was a lot of talk about Kenneth Walker III potentially getting traded, but he's had a fantastic start to training camp. I don't think he's going anywhere right now. Zach Charbonnet also makes his return off of a solid sophomore season. Damon Martinez slides into the RB3 spot with the injury to Kenny McIntosh, season ending. His year is done. And then we'll go at the fullback spot, Robbie Oots. I think he beats out Brady Russell to be that starting fullback. The day 3 selection out of Alabama, I think, ultimately earns that job. More to come here on Seahawks Today in just a moment. But first, I got a challenge. I want to see, with the NFL preseason coming up next week and us doing a watch party here, we want to make this our biggest season yet. So what better way to get things started than by helping us reach our next milestone of 68,500 subscribers? I want to get there before kickoff of that first preseason game. Can you help us out, folks? You can subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. We're less than 100 away from reaching that next milestone. We'll be live for that game. We're going to continue to bring you our news and rumors, live shows each and every week, breaking news, Q&A, mailbags, and more. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. The wide receivers for Seattle, I have 6 total. Jackson Smith-Njigba, your new undisputed wide receiver 1 for Seattle. We talked earlier this week that his role should expand a bit from being a slot guy to being used more on the outside. Cooper Kupp will be your wide receiver 2. He'll be used a lot in the slot. Also watch out for his blocking ability as well. MVS is your wide receiver 3. He's going to be used to kind of stretch the field vertically. And then our other 3 receivers. Here's where we get a bit of a surprise, folks. Torrey Horton, the rookie out of Colorado State, he makes it. I don't think anybody's worried about that. But then I'm going to go with my guy, Steven Sims Jr., the former Kansas Jayhawk, who also should be able to be used on special teams. And they're going to need more of that now with Kenny McIntosh out. And then I'm going to make some folks happy here. I have Jake Bobo making it as well. I think they go 6 wide receivers. Bobo had a good week this past week. And one thing Mike Macdonald talked about was he was very impressed with his blocking ability. Ricky White, the rookie out of UNLV, I still think that he could be on the practice squad and then still get a chance to prove himself, and maybe he could elevate to the active roster at some point in the year, especially if there's an injury or something. But I think Sims and Bobo both make it. Now, our pin comment today, you can pick one to keep. You go with Bobo, you go with my guy Sims, or do you go with the rookie Ricky White III? If it's Jake Bobo, type Bobo. If it's Steven Sims, type Sims. If it's White, type White. I'm typing Sims. Which one are you keeping? Weigh in our pin comment today. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know. The tight ends. Noah Fant is gone now. And I think Seattle goes with 3 tight ends because you have a fullback in Robbie Oots. He's got tight end experience. He's basically your tight end 4. You don't need 4 tight ends on the roster if you're going to carry a fullback. So we'll go with the rookie Elijah Arroyo. A.J. Barner also as well. I like both of them as a combination. They play totally different roles. Arroyo is a receiving threat. Barner is a blocking tight end. And then Eric Saubert, who you brought over from the San Francisco 49ers, more of a blocking tight end type himself. The offensive line, we're going to project 10 offensive linemen make the 53-man roster. Some people think it could be 9. Some say 11. I think about a happy medium is 10 here. You go too deep with Charles Cross, who just had that surgery on his finger. He should be ready to go week 1. Gray Zabel at the left guard spot, the rookie, your first-round pick out of North Dakota State. Olu Owatimi at the center position, I think, wins that starting job, although he's getting some competition from Jalen Sundell. Anthony Bradford at the right guard spot. He and Haynes are competing for that starting role. And then Abraham Lucas is healthy and ready to go at the right tackle spot. Now, here's where things get interesting. Your backups. Going with Josh Jones, who you signed from the Ravens to be your backup swing tackle. Jalen Sundell, who can play guard and center. Christian Haynes also making it. We're going to go with Lumea as well, who started some games last year as a rookie. And then another Kansas Jayhawk, Bryce Cabledew, I have making the roster as well. And with that, 10 total offensive linemen at this point. You go too deep there. If you make a move potentially for another offensive lineman, somebody's got to go, but at least for now, we'll go with these 10. How would you grade the Seahawks 53-man roster? We're going to go through the defense in just a moment, but what do you think about what the Seahawks have for 2025? Get your grades in A, B, C, D, or F, and let us know. Defensive line. I'm going with 6 total defensive linemen for Seattle here with Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy II, and Jaron Reed. No surprises with those 3. That'll be your starting defensive line, and I feel fantastic about that group, one of the best units Seattle has to offer. Behind them, we're going to go with Jonathan Hankins, and there are some question marks about Jonathan Hankins and his abilities, but with that said, he's been around the block for a bit. Mike Morris, I think, sticks around. There's a loyalty with him and Mike Macdonald that goes back to their Michigan days. And then let's go Brandon for the final spot. I like what I've seen from him in Madden, crazy enough. He's been a nice rotational fit there and could be a good backup there as your 6th defensive lineman. Riley Mills, nobody's expecting him to play anytime soon. You draft him out of Notre Dame knowing that he might not even play this year after suffering that ACL injury. And with that said, he goes on the PUP list, might be there for a while. Outside linebacker, I'm going to go with 4 of them. We're going to go Boye Mafe, who I believe will start week 1. Derek Hall also on that list. Nice sophomore season for Derek Hall last year. DeMarcus Lawrence, who you signed from the Dallas Cowboys. If he stays healthy, he's got a chance to lead this team in sacks. And then the final spot will go to Jamie Sheriff. Jamie Sheriff barely missed the 53-man roster last year, had an awesome training camp in preseason, wasn't quite enough to make the 53-man roster. I think he's in because I think Uchenna Nwosu probably starts the season on the PUP list, and then if Nwosu ever gets healthy, then he would bump out Sheriff on that active roster, and that's also assuming that they don't make another move. If they add another outside linebacker, which they very well could, then Jamie Sheriff would be the odd man out. Will Jamie Sheriff make the Seahawks 53-man roster? Type Y for yes, in for no. Get your predictions in the comments section and let us know if you think he'll make it or not. Got an insane deal for Seahawks fans. You see this hoodie right here? At one point in time, it was $55, and I convinced the bosses to lower the price down to $33. And you can get yours today at chatsports.com/Seahawks sale. We have all sorts of different shapes and sizes available to your liking, as well as other Seahawks merchandise. Go to chatsports.com/Seahawks sale to get yours today. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. Inside linebacker, I think you go 4 deep here. Ernest Jones, he's fully healthy now. And he was playing good last year with a banged-up knee. Can't wait to see what he does in 2025. Tyrese Knight had a solid rookie campaign. He was one of the best 4th-round picks in the entire NFL, it seems. He and Jones are a nice combination. Behind him, we'll go with the veteran Drake Thomas, and we'll also go with Patrick O'Connell as well at the inside linebacker position to round out that position group. The corners, and this is where I differ from several people. I'm going with 6. There we go. Got the right number. 6 total corners. Devin Witherspoon coming off a Pro Bowl campaign. Rick Woolen, a huge year for him as he's in a contract season. Shaq Griffin, you bring over from the Minnesota Vikings in his return. I expect him to be a starter, and that be your main 3 corners, Witherspoon, Woolen, and Griffin. Josh Jobe played in 10 games last year for Seattle. I like him as a backup. Don't feel comfortable necessarily with him as a starter. That's okay. He can more than fill a starting role if one of those other 3 go down. Shemar Jean-Charles, you brought over from the New Orleans Saints, kind of your backup nickel. And then Nehemiah Pritchett, who you drafted last year from Auburn. I think he's also in that rotation. I know some people are projecting him to get cut. I think it's too early for that just yet to give up on him. We'll go with 6 total corners. We got a couple more position groups to get to before we wrap up. I want to know, sound off, who's your favorite Seahawks player? Tell me who it is and why. Spam them in the comments section. Show them some love. Speaking of love, Julian Love, the Pro Bowl safety, is back. He has not missed a game for the Seattle Seahawks, and I think he's going to have a fantastic season. He's joined by Kobe Bryant, who had a breakout campaign last year, did a really good job taking over for Rayshon Jenkins. Hopefully he picks up from where he left off. When the Seahawks signed DeAnthony Bell, they were already talking about some 3 safety looks potentially with DeAnthony Bell, and he could be a sneaky good addition. But he actually might be not used that much in 3 safety looks because they got this guy now, Nick Eamon-Warry out of South Carolina, the All-American, and he can do a little bit of everything. He can play safety. He can play corner. He can play nickel. He can play outside backer, inside backer. He might not be a starter week 1, but he's going to see plenty of playing time. The special teams group, last and least, Mike Dixon at the punter spot. He just got a new deal. He's the highest paid punter in football. Jason Myers, your kicker, and Chris Stoll at the long snapper position. There you have it. That's our latest 53-man roster projection for your Seattle Seahawks. Thanks for joining us here on the channel today. For more Seahawks coverage, subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.